genre.
Hello and welcome back to The Doctor's Companion presents Doctor Who, The Long Way Round. The weekly podcast where we review and discuss every... I don't want to do it the whole time.
I liked the beat where you were like, am I really going to keep this going for this whole thing?
Am I really going to get this? Yeah. Not for Curse of the Black Spot. The weekly podcast where we review and discuss every episode of Doctor Who, one doctor at a time. I'm Nick Jimenez.
I'm Scott Corelli.
And I'm Cass Fredrickson.
Today on the show, we will finally be discussing The Curse of the Black Spot, the 11th Doctor's 13th story, and surely one of the most infamous stories of this entire era of the show. Would both of you agree with that?
Infamous in what way? Like just bad?
Reviled? It just kind of seems... So I haven't seen this one maybe since 2011. Like, I don't think I've ever rewatched this one. And yet, whenever I'm with Whovians or like friends at parties or talking about the show, it always comes up that's like, oh God, The Curse of the Black Spot. Like, that one's really rough, you know? And so I was interested to actually just like, you know what? I always say this is like one of the really bad ones, but I haven't rewatched it ever, so let's like see. So I'm really interested to talk about it with you guys.
I think it just sticks out when you're binging the show because or was watching it weekly at the time, because it's like you have that two-parter which we talked about and you know didn't hold up as well as we had hoped for us, you know, but at the time was like peak Doctor Who, and you're like, oh man, this is going to be amazing, and then you go into this one and you're like, oh, this is pretty. It's like substandard Doctor Who. And then it's like The Doctor's Wife the next week. And so it just stands out in this first half of season 6 as like, why is that here? You know, right. Like it just feels like of a very different quality from the rest of it. Or at least it for these, like this early half of the show. But yeah. Curse of the Black Spot. So yeah, it aired May 7th, 2011, as part of series 6. And this was directed by Jeremy Webb, who would in a back-to-back recording block with The Wedding of River Song. So this was actually this episode was actually filmed very late in the game. It was meant to be a back half of the season episode. We were actually originally, the intention was that it would go Impossible Astronaut, Day of the Moon, The Doctor's Wife.
Wow.
And then it was going to be what is the Gatiss one for season 6? What is that one called? With the dolls? Night Terrors. It was going to be Night Terrors, then Rebel Flesh Almost People, and then the mid-season two-parter. And it was decided at some point that like we should swap Night Terrors and Black Spot, because Black Spot is a little more fun and whimsical, and we need something that's like not so heavy, because they felt like the first half of the season was just like a little too heavy and like just like, yeah, big and important. Big and important and everything. But then the other problem was that, the side effect of that is that, you have like Rory dying like 7 times in a row or whatever.
Yeah.
But in any event, Curse of the Black Spot, written by Steve Thompson, who he was a maths teacher, who became a writer when he became a stay-at-home dad. Eventually he started working on Sherlock, and wrote a pretty bland episode of Sherlock in series 1, and then what I think is like one of the best, maybe the best Sherlock finale in series 2. The Rickenbach Falls episode that was written by him. So he has it in him to be a very good writer, but he also has it in him to be a pretty substandard writer, depending on the story that he's given. This was, similar to what we talked about last week with Shakespeare Code. This was a situation where, they were talking about how like pirates were really big right now because of all of the Pirates of the Caribbean movies and everything. But they were like, well, we need to have the pirate not be anything like Jack Sparrow. So we need to go like the total opposite of that. And we had what is his name? Hugh Bonneville becoming sort of like a major player in the British acting because of Downton Abbey at the time. Of course, now we all know him as Paddington's dad, adopted father. But at the time, he was just the guy. He was one of the leads on Downton Abbey. So they were like, yeah, he'll give it a very different vibe from like a Johnny Depp. And so that's what they did. And they figured out a storyline for this. And they just felt like, yeah, we haven't done pirates since The Smugglers in 1966. So I think we're overdue for a pirate episode. So let's do a pirate episode. And they did at first as a way of saving money. The episode was written to be, about, it was going to be like taking place on the Cornish coast. In this version, Captain Avery was searching for his missing wife who had been kidnapped by the Siren. The doctor eventually helped track the creature to a mine where it was killed. But when they realized that they had sufficient funds to set much of the story at sea, they got rid of the coastline sort of port town in favor of like actually having this take place on a pirate ship. So there we go. That's pretty much it. Originally this was just called The Siren, this episode. And then, he thought, Moffat thought it would be silly if they called it Curse of the Black Spot, like Curse of the Black Pearl, as a reference to Pirates of the Caribbean. And so that's
two in a row of the showrunner at the time, like giving it a cheeky little movie tie-in title.
Yeah. I noticed that too. And I thought that was I was like, wow. I always like when we find little connections between the episodes we're talking about in a season of Long Way Around. So I remember watching this and being like, that was a really lousy episode of Doctor Who. And I've seen it a few times since, and I've never liked it anymore. In fact, I've usually liked it less. I don't know if it's, I don't know what was going on with me this morning. I don't know if I just like was really bothered by, my reaction to Shakespeare Code. But like, I will be honest, I quite enjoyed it this time around, and I'm not really sure what changed. I still think it has its issues. I think that they take so long to get to the really obvious reveal of what's going on. And then once you're in the med bay, you're in that fucking boring ass med bay for like 15 minutes. It feels like it's like an eternity. Because they were like, we stretched out this reveal as far as possible. And now it's like, we're on the ship. It's very obvious what's going on, but we're still going to hold back because once we reveal what's going on, there's nothing left to do in this episode. So it just feels like an episode that has too little story, stretched out over 45 minutes, which shouldn't be an issue. And yet it's like they thought of the twist. And then I think what happened was when they moved it to the boat, it got less interesting because the siren was coming to them, and it wasn't like a mystery of like, oh, what happened to his wife, he's got to find his wife, and solving that whole mystery, and there's like a whole town that you get to deal with, whereas here it's just a bunch of guys on a locked room mystery almost, like, because they're just on a boat and they're just disappearing, and she's coming to them and they have to figure out the reflection thing, and that's not enough of like a big reveal to like, I think, stretch out the story. But all that being said, I like the stuff with the kid, and I like the stuff where like he's a little ashamed of being a pirate, because he used to be a naval officer. I think that Hugh Bonneville does like really good work in this of like, yeah, like I'm a pirate. I don't really like that I'm a pirate. I liked being respected as a naval officer. That was way better. But this is my lot in life now. And you kind of get all of that in his performance. And so I like that a lot. And I like the kid being ashamed of his father being a pirate, which was pretty good. And yeah, that's about it. I love the sword fight with Amy because it's fun. A, she looks great in that whole outfit, which is, B, huge plus there. Also, I think it's fun because they're not scared of her being like an adequate sword fighter. They just can't get cut at all. So they're all, so she's like, wow, I'm like a really good sword fighter. And I think that's the way that plays now, knowing what's going on, I just think is like really fun and funny. How cocky she is. And it's just very Amy and very Moffat to be like, I mean, she's not actually that good of we're not ridiculous. She's not that good of a sword, person. They're just terrified of getting cut in any way. So I don't know. This one, for whatever reason, just really worked for me this morning, and can't guarantee that I'd rewatch it, anytime soon. And when I do, if I'll like it as much as I did this time, but for whatever reason, it was working for me this time. Nick, what did you think about it this time?
Yeah, I agree with you. I think this episode peaks early with Karen Gillan dressed as a pirate with a cutlass, sword fighting. Like, I think they used that hero shot of her quite a bit, just because it is like such a great shot. And she looks so cool. It's such a cool like silhouette. I agree. The stuff in the med bay is still pretty inexcusable, and just kind of like ends the whole episode on a whimper for me. But yeah, kind of echoing what we talked about in Shakespeare Code, and especially kind of now knowing like this was always designed to be kind of a vacation of sorts for the characters of like, hey, we've had a lot of lore episodes. Let's just have them go on a fun adventure. Let's just like, if you like this era of the show, like I do, there's a lot of fun stuff. There's a lot of fun little Matt Smith pops, fun stuff of like Rory being into the siren and Amy being like, oh, why are you, like she doesn't hit on every fucking centurion
while making full eye contact with Rory.
Yeah.
As she's doing it.
Oh, I like to bend him over and show him the 50 states. And Rory's like, oh no.
Oh, why do I have to be cucked every episode?
Cucked in time and space again. Fuck you, Toby.
Oh my god.
I think this episode would have gone from like a C plus B minus to like a B plus if the pirates, if we had spent a bit more time with them and they had been a bit more colorful or memorable. But yeah, definitely, especially knowing that this was directed by the guy that directed Wedding of River Song, I which is like kind of an obnoxious, offensive episode for me.
Yeah.
This is just like checking in with your buddies, and it's a fun 40-minute episode of Doctor Who with pirates. So yeah, I warmed to this quite a bit compared to 10 years ago when I was like, oh, that was so bad. It was such a shitty episode, guys.
Yeah. I liked the ongoing joke with the Doctor just being, forget everything that I said before.
Yeah.
I like that he does that like 3 or 4 times. I think that's a lot of fun. Cass, so this one didn't work as well for you this time? Or
yeah, I know, because I think I remember that the last time we talked about this, that I liked it a little more than you two. And I think it's funny that I've kind of like flip-flopped a little bit. Like not a lot. Like this is like a solid, like very middle of the road, like I don't know. I'm just gonna throw on an episode of Doctor Who. Not even. I don't know if I'm ever gonna watch this again. But
if it's on TV and you want to watch Doctor Who,
yeah. I think in comparison to the one we talked about last week, like Shakespeare Code is more fun.
Mm-hmm.
This one is not pleasant to look at. It's really the color palette is really, really boring.
Money.
And I know that's a symptom of like, oh, we're shooting this on the water or like on a boat at night. And then the med bay is the same color.
Probably on a soundstage, if we're being perfectly honest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But and it does. I guess it's charming in that it feels like Classic Who, like mediocre Classic Who, where it's like, why is this 6 parts instead of 4? I don't know. Like, I like when Doctor Who does pirates in theory, and then every time I'm like, oh, like,
yeah.
But and I feel like we've seen this twist since, and it does it way better.
We've seen it before by Moffat himself. With the Are You My Mummy 2-parter.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Thank you. It was driving me crazy. I'm like, I know I've seen this before.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I like Hugh Bonneville as the dad, the captain.
Yeah.
There's like a gravitas to him. That's like fun with like Matt Smith being his most Matt Smithieth. But yeah, I don't know. It's like a C-.
I definitely agree with what Nick was talking about with like getting to know the other pirates, because I think there's a moment where they mutiny and they're like, oh, he's got the captain's gone soft and you know, because he's got a child that he's looking after or whatever. And I think that if they had introduced the idea of like, these people are popping off, they're disappearing, right? And there's a mutiny forming already. And they're like, the captain's not saving us. He's not doing anything about this. We need to like take over the ship because like we don't want to keep dying. And if that was like something that was going on, and then the sun showing up was like the extra being where they're like, okay, now we can go public with our mutiny because fuck this guy and fuck this kid. I think that could have added like a little bit of like drama that would have like given us more information about the pirates and their relationships and the whole thing. And you could even have the pirates being like, you're ashamed to be a pirate. We love being pirates. Fuck you, man. Like, you know, like that would have been at least something. Yeah. But instead, you know, they want to give us like 15 minutes on the med bay and bringing Arthur Darvill back to life in something that I can't even really make sense of. Like, I know they explained it. I know there's a reason behind it, behind why this was happening, but like none of it really worked for me, especially when the kid starts walking around. I'm like, okay, what are we doing then? Why did we do this? What's the problem? He got cut on his hand. Why does he have to be reciprocal? Like,
oh no, because Rory fell overboard and he was drowning.
Oh, okay. Well, I don't know.
That was the thing. But no, I agree. You know, I think about like, I don't think either of you watched Skeleton Crew, but like, there's kind of like, there's an Israel Hands and Skeleton Crew. There's like a kind of shifty person who wants to mutiny and wants to take over the cat, and then the alliances of the crew are always shifting, and they're memorable enough of like, oh, the Urkel, the one that's played by Urkel, or like the one that's a werewolf, or like, so they're broad strokes enough to where you can kind of like, you remember them. And it's kind of the fun part of a pirate story, you know, or like in Treasure Planet, there's like the Mr. Crabman that's like, the captain's gone soft.
Right. I think this is like a side effect of them trying really hard not to do Pirates of the Caribbean, and as a result, they're just doing like generic pirate. Yeah,
it's like super bland. But even then, like I feel like they do kind of riff on the Pirates of the Caribbean of it, because there's like the supernatural thing, like the presence that's like whatever, and then like the absent father who, you know,
yeah.
It's like the kid is like Will Turner, but like 11 instead.
Don't call my dad a pirate like that.
Yeah.
He's like Will Turner, and then that kid that gets killed in the Russell Crowe movie.
Oh yeah,
the Oceans or Battlefields, whatever that movie is called.
Master
and Commander. Yeah,
I wish it was called The Oceans or Battlefields.
Honestly, if it had been called The Oceans or Battlefields, it would have made at least 100 million more than it did. I think
Absolutely,
and we'd probably have like 3 of them.
The Oceans or Battlefields, far side of the world, or whatever.
Yeah, right.
I have a question I want to pose to both of you because I didn't know about the locale change, and I understand the kind of knee-jerk logic of like, what's more piratey than a pirate ship? If we have the budget, let's shoot it on a pirate ship. But the idea of it being set in a port town, it's giving like Tortuga, like Pirates of the Caribbean, Port Royal, and I'm like, man, that almost kind of seems like it could have been more colorful and more fun.
Definitely. I totally agree with that. And I think that it's also like, it's just that shooting on water is expensive. And so I think they were just like hypnotized by that, of like the idea of like, oh, we could actually shoot on water. We have the money for that. Wow. Fancy, without thinking about how much worse the story is for being a closed door mystery, essentially, on a pirate ship. Because you're also getting like a little bit of like John Carpenter's The Fog, by having it set on a port town with like the spirit of this siren coming in and like taking people away back to the sea or whatever. There's just like a lot of really interesting stuff there, I think. Yeah. But oh well. I think it would have been a lot more spooky, definitely.
Yeah, but then if their goal was to make it less spooky, like I don't know, it's kind of like a lose-lose.
Right, that is true. Well,
but the plot of this episode, so there's a siren, and she takes people who have been injured. At first, it's they think that it's because like blood is drawing her, and the doctor lands his TARDIS in the hold, and we get the very classic like, who are you, like, oh, you're stowaways, like rah rah rah. And then Amy does her sword thing.
The introduction of the doctor and the crew at the end of the cold open was such a like warm hug of nostalgia for me, because it's just like, it's how they're introduced in like every episode during the Moffat era, of just like, you guys are somewhere you're not supposed to be, and they're like, whoa, I don't know, and then, woo,
yo ho ho. Oh, no one actually says yo ho ho. Got it.
Yeah, it's just I was like, I remember when it was this simple. That's nice.
I think because like peak Matt Smith for me is like the first season. This is where he kind of slowly starts to overstay his welcome a little bit, where I'm just like less attached to him already, which is really weird. But so we get the running gag where like the doctor's making theories, like we see the siren again. Rory gets cut because like Amy like flings the sword, I think, or it like flies out of her hand, and he gets like caught. He gets cut on his hand, so he has the black spot. And the siren tries to take him, and they pull him away, and they like try and barricade themselves, and like she keeps showing up. And they're man, this the plot of this is like very, very light. So the doctor's working theory is that like the siren's using water to appear on the ship wherever she wants. So they go into the gunpowder storage, like the magazine, and that's where they find the captain's son, who's stowed away because his mother died and he has like nobody, so he like tracked down his dad.
What does he have? He's like coughing. Does he have like tuberculosis or something? Like, what does he have?
He has like, I don't know, he has like the anime disease. He's not coughing blood. I think it's just like a fever. or
Oh,
something.
Okay. Some kind of,
Yeah.
Some kind of
And
fever.
It's like the 1700s, so they don't
know what it is.
Yeah. And then the thing, okay, so the most contrived part of this for me is the part where the kid is just like, we find out that it's not water that the siren is using, it's like reflections. So like any polished metallic surface is like a risk to like bring her. And then the kid randomly just starts like polishing this necklace that he's got on. And I'm like, okay, what?
Yeah, it's also it's frustrating because we never see her come out of any of the polished jewels. And so we're never shown how that actually happens, like anatomically, how she's able to like come through such a little space, even though she's like full size. The only time we see it is like in the barrel of water.
Right.
But that's like a barrel, like a person can fit in a barrel. So like it doesn't feel weird when her hands are coming out of the barrel, but you never see her come out of the crown or out of the medallion. And so yeah, I never get a real sense of danger out of it at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So that crown is like the most Burger King looking prop crown I have ever seen.
That's a Party City crown if I've ever seen one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Hugh Bonneville just being completely transfixed by it.
Yeah.
This makes it really funny.
Well.
And like all the other prop treasure like looks pretty good, but like this crown
it's because it had to be shiny. I think that's what it is. It just looks cheap when it's shiny like that,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. And so there's that part where the doctor smashes the mirror. Instead of like, just throwing the whole thing overboard. So like I was thinking, cuz like, in Enlightenment, the Superior Pirate episode, where Tegan has the little jewel and then the doctor smashes it and then the jewel keeps glowing and now it's like magnified like 50 times because there's like 50 little fragments of whatever. Yeah. And I kept thinking like, why didn't she just use the mirror bits that are
right? If she can use the little medallion, why can't she come through the little mirror bits? Yeah.
Right. I don't know.
Very
plot
silly.
I had a question because like the treasure, they have to dump the treasure. If you throw like an opaque, like a wool blanket over the mirror,
it,
would that do the trick?
Yes. Yeah, of course it would.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, because it worked when he put the lid on the barrel of water.
Yeah.
Yeah. So just throw. That's.
What are you breaking a mirror for? It's just so ridiculous.
Glass everywhere.
Yeah, and then like later when they do make the explanation of like, have you ever looked in a mirror and thought you were looking into another universe? Well,
no.
In this ship you really were. And it's like, no, I've never thought that.
No one's ever thought that.
No, the only time that it looks weird is when you're like looking into a reflection of a mirror and you get like that weird tunneling effect.
Right.
Like that's kind of cool and weird.
Like
but
the funhouse thing.
Yeah, but that's not what you're talking about here. So what are we doing?
Well, before phones, you could just stare at a wall and just daydream for hours and think of all kinds of stupid shit.
Yeah, I guess. Well, so like, but the thing is about the mirror, the reflection, other universe thing. It's like, okay, I could accept that if when you cross through, you were in a literal mirror reflection of the world you were just in. So there's like another pirate ship, but everything is in reverse. Then you're like, oh, okay, I see the logic and what they're talking about. But that's not what's going on here. It's a spaceship that looks totally different. So like, what? Just doesn't make any sense. I don't know.
Especially when we get into like the universe aspect of it, which I'm sure Cass will get into.
Yeah.
But yeah. So this guy, this captain guy, instead of dumping all his treasure overboard, like the doctor said, he keeps the really shiny crown because like greed. And then as a result, it summons the siren lady and she takes the kid and Rory falls overboard and starts to drown and they bring her back so she can rescue Rory and then the doctor is like, okay, well let's just like hurt let's hurt ourselves. So
like girls at a slumber party. They all just like
oh my god. So they summon the siren, and then they wake up in the ship, and the spaceship, which is like parked on top of it in like it's not another universe, right? It's just like phased on top of it. Or...
Yeah, right. It's like another dimension. The way the TARDIS is another dimension. You know? Yeah.
Yeah, because like they somehow at the end they go to space, but
never to be seen or heard from again.
Right. But yeah, so this siren thing is like an automated med bay thing. Like the crew on the spaceship is dead, and she has just been like programmed to help, but like she doesn't know how because it's like a different biology. And
should have been played by Picardo, the doctor from Voyager.
Oh my god.
Because it's basically the same thing.
He's just speaking like at you instead of singing.
Yeah.
And then there's that very dramatic scene where Amy has to give Rory CPR because he's still in the midst of drowning.
Which
because
doesn't
the
make any sense.
medbay has like, I know the medbay has like stabilized him. I don't know.
Yeah, it like stabilized him where he's like talking and like logic and there's conversation. He's like, okay, when you pull the plug from here, I'm going to start drowning again. Wait, what? Why? What is?
I guess because he's drowning in the other universe. Because it's described as like two cars parked in the same space. Which also, so it's like, I guess they're in the mirror universe, but it's like out there, I'm still drowning. And if you take these wires off of me, I'll be drowning again. I think that's like the attempt of what they're trying to say.
That's rough.
I think it's like muddled, you know, because it's like,
Also, this medbay is set designed like barracks in a play about World War I. Like
very barracksy.
Yeah, it's very barracksy. Like just like a bunch of 19-year-old soldiers hanging out on their little bunks, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And like Kat said, the resuscitation scene is so dramatic and so overwrought, and you know, like Karen Gillan's crying and the music is like, no, and it's like, oh my god, if this happens so many times, I don't get why it's such a big deal that Arthur might die again.
I know, because it happens in like the next episode, right? Like, yeah. So it's just like this is, and then it happens again in the Rebel people, Rebel Flesh 2-parter, which I have a feeling is really not going to hold up for me. But I really that episode is like more boring than the Silurian 2-parter.
Series 6 is rough.
Yeah. It's just like there's some pops that are like really nice, and then there's some lulls that you're like, God, what are we doing, guys? How did we greenlight this one like this? This is like close to being pretty good, and I feel like the earlier draft at the lower budget probably would have been a better version of this story.
Yeah,
unfortunately,
because then like there's like the father-son storyline is like okay, but like if we have this captain who's like looking for his wife and his kid, like, you know, like, and then like we get to know like more of like an ensemble thing instead of like killing them off in the first 15 minutes. You know?
Yeah. Or has come back to this port town to see his wife for the first time in who knows how many years. Right? Because he's been out there becoming a pirate and everything. And he's back. And then there's this little kid that's like following him around and you don't know who it is. And then you get the reveal that like, oh, I'm your son. This is our first time meeting. Hello. She was like pregnant and whatever. And then like, you know, maybe he loses his wife, but now he has the son. So it's like a nice little thing. But here it's kind of nothing. It's just sort of like, if you see Master and Commander, you know how they had kids on that ship? I want to be one of them.
Works out great for them.
Yeah, if you got to cut my arm off, so be it. Spoilers for Master and Commander. Was it his arm or his leg? I think it was his arm, right?
I think it was his arm. Yeah, there's another one who becomes like second mate because it's like 3 people die at once, and it's like, congratulations, sir, you're the third. Oh no, I'm not.
You're the only other one who's had any school whatsoever.
Yeah.
So,
God.
Yeah. Anyway,
Her Majesty.
It was a hard time back then. It really was.
When the oceans were battlefield.
Yeah. I think the Port Town thing makes more sense and would have been a much better episode overall.
Mm-hmm.
As much fun as I'm sure it was for everyone to be on a pirate ship and on the water and everything. I don't know. Sometimes you got to think about the actual story. Because, nobody's saying you couldn't have the third act. Move the third act to the pirate ship instead of the mine shaft they were doing before. You know? Just move it to the pirate ship. It can be parked. You're still on a ship. You can still do swashbuckly stuff on it just because it's out of port. Whatever. it's fine.
Anyway. Shout out to Lily Cole, who played the Siren. Very again, kind of a nostalgic face. She was kind of a big supermodel at the time. I think she won like Vogue Model of the Year. She was in that St. Trinian's movie back in the 2000s.
Oh yeah, isn't that with David Tennant? Isn't David Tennant in that?
Yeah, I think he's like the bad guy.
Yeah, he's the baddie in those. He's the
That's funny.
Yeah, because it's like a kids movie, basically, like a teen,
like YA, like girls boarding school movie.
Right, and he's like Gargamel.
I'm pretty sure she was also the female lead, like love interest in the Imaginarium of Dr. Parnassus.
Oh, interesting! Wow. Okay,
back in the day,
Lily Cole. So anyway.
Oh, and then will we end? Do we want to talk about the kind of the stinger at the end? The kind of the one bit of we get Madame Kevorkian. She shows up for half a second.
Yes. My I hate season 6. So we end and the doctor is creeping on Amy. Amy's like pregnancy status, because he still has the scanner because in the 2-parter before she was like I'm pregnant and then she's not pregnant anymore, so that we get the scanner that's like switching back and forth, and then we also previous in the episode we get that little, which is honestly like really creepy, the way that like the door just like slides open and we see old eye patch lady. And then she says some cryptic nonsense, and then the door slides shut again. But this subplot is one of my least favorite things about this era. And I'm kind of like I'm a little trepidatious to see how it like lands again this time, but
I don't even remember what her whole thing is with River, like why she's like, oh, River needs to be born. Like this is I'm very adamant about this.
I think because River's going to kill the doctor.
That's it.
Like
I think so.
Okay.
Oh, so is Amy in a coma this whole arc? Because it's like, isn't that the big twist that she's been under this whole time, and all these episodes have been like her.
That's why it's doing the pregnancy thing. The weird flip flop, because it's like
the doppelganger thingy.
Yeah, she is pregnant, but the real Amy, not this Amy, and that's why it's like flipping.
That's Good Man Goes to War.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, no, we find out at the end of I think the
Rebel
the doppelganger 2-parter. I think.
Yeah.
And then you go into you're like she like melts, and they're like what, and then it's like. Oh, she's like 9 months pregnant and giving birth. We have to go over there now. And then they go to the Good Man Goes to War episode. And and then that's when, we run back into real Amy. But I don't remember when they got switched. Probably sometime in Impossible Astronaut, I'd assume. But I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think when they're all separated in that 2 years or whatever, where they're like running around.
Okay.
Kind of proto X-Men 97 a little bit.
Okay.
with the genes and.
Oh, right. That is true. Yeah. One of them didn't melt and go away, though.
Sure. She became a sexy villain.
Yeah, indeed.
Good for her.
Good for her. Yeah.
Good for her. Not so good for us. Next week, Kill the Moon. Womp womp.
Oh man, that's funny because I was about to make the joke like, "Go to bed, Pond. I'm investigating your uterus."
I'm actually like, I'm not looking forward to it, but I'm interested in rewatching it because I haven't seen it since it aired.
Yeah.
So I'm interested in revisiting it.
I haven't either. I don't remember hating it until someone pointed out like, well, you know what this is actually about, and I was like, oh.
yeah, I liked it for like 5 minutes, and then I was like, wait a second.
Yeah, and then I couldn't unsee what the metaphor appeared to be. So I don't know. That'll be interesting to see when I do my research for that episode if that comes up.
How that happened. Yeah, that would be interesting.
Was it an accident? Like was it on purpose? Like, or did they just like stumble backwards into a metaphor that they didn't mean?
Was it an accident? And they were like, "Well, we can't quit now. We have to carry this to term. We have to." Oh
no!
There's that video essay. I haven't watched it, but I'm aware of it, and it's like in defense of Kill the Moon, and like apparently I'm sure we'll get into it next time too, but apparently the writer like had no idea. Like he was just like, oh yeah, this is a good Doctor Who story. And like nobody along the way was just like, hey, this might be a pregnancy or abortion allegory. Like, and I think it's really funny that it like passed through so many like stages where even the leads weren't like, hey, this is kind of weird.
Well, because you're like, when you're making these things, you're so focused on like the thing you're doing that day that you're not seeing the forest for the trees,
Yeah.
So I could totally see it just like just everybody being like, oh, whoops.
And this is why we should have more people with uteruses working on Doctor Who.
Yeah. Oh boy. Gosh, just somebody checking your work, guys. I don't know. Anyway,
it'll be fun.
Yeah, kill the moon. Look, lots of laughs next week, I'm sure. Kill the moon next week as we visit the 12th Doctor, and Clara, and a big egg,
a big old dragon egg called the moon.
Called the moon. Bye, everybody.